youth football and the opportunity for kids and coaches coming up next on the Sports Zone. Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Zone for Time Warner Cable Sports. I'm your host, John Nelson. Clarence Nevels is the president of TagTeamSportz. He's also the national director for the Nike Youth Coach of the Year Award. Clarence has been a guest on numerous occasions of the Sports Zone. And Clarence, your visit now, we're going to talk about a Thanksgiving Day game later in the program, but the main focus and the first time this has been done is the Nike Coach of the Year. How many coaches in North Texas will be recognized, and talk about the nomination process?
100 youth coaches will be recognized excuse me, in 2013. It's awesome, John. I can't believe that as many nominations have come in for coaches. We've had over 1,600 nominations to come in, and that's 600 different coaches, and that's unbelievable. But yeah, they go to NikeYouthCoachOfTheYear.com. They can nominate coaches. There's an information section on there that you can leave a comment, and the parents and the families and the players are loving it because it's never happened before. And you know, with a sponsor like Nike, and with Nike backing this thing, it'll go through the roof, and we're making history, and that's what I'm excited about.
The Nike Youth Coach of the Year, Clarence, what age bracket, who's eligible?
And that's one of the things that was unique about the meetings that we've had with the Nike program was you can, I mean, 5 years old all the way through 15, and actually, so that's exciting because, I mean, you got some coaches that have been around for 30 years, but that's not their prerequisite. These coaches, I mean, if you have a year, basically, that's what they're looking for. If you had a year in coaching, because again, you can't really put a timeline on a guy that's out there in the community working with athletes and teaching these kids the right way to do things, teaching them to be great student athletes, and we, again, want to recognize those guys and give them an opportunity to obviously say, hey, you know, somebody cares about what you're doing in the community.
What about Nike's involvement? Did they come to you, or did Nike express an interest, say, a couple of years ago?
The Nike Coach of the Year, which has been a clinic that's gone on for 40 plus years, I think almost 50 years or so. In essence, the guy by the name of Randy Pippen, which is a great guy, owns Pip Consulting, actually approached me about an opportunity that he had. And the next thing you know, I told him about what we do in the community with the youth with National League Certification Management, which is obviously our program of leveling the playing field, third-party certification. They were like, God, this is a great fit. We said we wanted to recognize youth coaches. They wanted to support it. So in essence, it just, and just like everything that's happened with TagTeamSportz, it's just one of those things that kind of happened, and I took it, you know, and I'm driving the reins, John.
Since this is the first year, can you foresee maybe a Hall of Fame level in the recognition in years to come? Oh,
that's one of the things that I brought to their attention. I said, think about this. There's some coaches. I'll give you an example. I had a coach when I was coming up. He's been coaching 30 years. He was my youth coach when I was coming up. You know, this guy maybe got a plaque. You know, he may have got a, you know, may have gotten a, you know, a watch at the end of a season. But that guy has never been. You know, he should be a type of guy that should be commemorated for history. You know, I mean, his name is Don Fleming, as a matter of fact, which that's a good plug for Don there. But yeah, I talked to them about it. 2014, we're actually going to come out with a Hall of Fame. Those guys will be commemorated virtually forever, and I think that's important, you know, because again, maybe it may inspire another guy these young kids to actually coach, because coaches are teachers, coaches are mentors, and these are guys in the community that are actually involved with your kids. So we want those young kids, we want to plant a seed for those guys.
If you're seeing this program in other parts of the state, what has the reaction been like from other cities in the state? Oh,
it's been crazy. You know, and we got calls that, you know, guys that run the Coach of the Year clinics are calling, hey, we want to bring that clinic to we want to bring the youth version to our clinics. Because what happens is, we think with Nike Coach of the Year, if we're going to create better coaches. So if you got better coaches going to clinics being taught by guys like Les Miles from LSU, or Art Browse, or Mac Brown even, you know, any program that is sponsored by Nike, those coaches will come to the clinics and speak at the clinics. So in essence, if we can get to the youth coaches, teach these coaches how to become better coaches, so guess what happens at the end of the day is you're going to have better players, you know, and guys that are sound, you know, fundamentally, and teaching good offensive schemes and defensive schemes, and not just calling plays. So that's what this thing is all about. We're going to recognize coaches, help them become better coaches with Nike Coach of the Year, and it's all around win-win for everybody.
You mentioned Les Miles, the LSU Coach of the Year. He will be one of the presenters.
That's right.
When does that take place, and where will that be?
In February. That'll actually take place in February. And if you actually go to NikeCoachOfTheYear.com, you'll actually get an opportunity to see the list of and locations where the clinics are going to be held. But in Dallas, Dallas will actually be in February. And if you go to NikeCoachOfTheYear.com, you can actually see the location, address, everything. And also Nike Youth Coach of the Year, where you can nominate a coach. And we want families and parents and friends and fellow coaches to participate in the clinic. And all the winners that are announced, those guys get to come to the clinic for free. The coaches that want to come out and listen to Art Browse and listen to Mac Brown, this is a treat for everybody because this doesn't happen. This hasn't been available for youth coaches all over the country, but it is today.
Clarence, where are the good coaches coming from? I mean, there's really no set standard, no model to pattern yourself after, but the good coaches that really stay with it, where do they come from now?
And you know what's funny about that is that they come from all over. And I'll tell you this, you know, back in the day, you know, guys would say, they called it daddy ball. You know, typically you had a son, he's pretty good in sports. You wanted to be actively involved in what he was doing. So those types of coaches kind of came around. But what you're finding is that there's coaches that are sticking around. Their kids are graduating from the youth programs, going on to middle school and high school ball. And those dads are sticking around and still becoming mentors because it's kind of contagious. Once you've actually, you know, mentored a child or been involved, it's if you know, most men that are worth their salt, you know, it's contagious. You want to do it. You want to help. And these kids latch on to you, so it's hard to walk away. But they come from all over.
And do you find them really expanding the year to where once the football season is over, they may pick up a couple of books. They may go to some clinics on their own where they really had no interest in doing that before.
We do think that that's happening, you know, because obviously if you look now on our website, you'll see all the coaches being nominated. You'll look at Facebook, NikeYouthCoachOfTheYear.com or Nike Youth Coach of the Year on Facebook. I mean, God, guys are commenting, they're liking the page. It's becoming viral on a daily basis. So what I'm thinking that's going to eventually happen is these coaches are going to really take an interest in becoming better coaches, going to school, picking up a book, you know, getting on the internet and obviously going to NikeCoachOfTheYear.com, going through tutorials and things of that nature to become better coaches. Again, better coaches, better men, you know, better mentors. That's what it's all about.
I think you'll find at any level, once that interest is peaked, once you spur that interest, there's no cap. No. I mean, there's no level that they can't succeed.
That's right. There's no level that they can't succeed. And I think these coaches now, you know, what we're gonna have now is ownership. You know, guys are going to take ownership on the level of education that they have so that they now can pass that on to other guys. But there is no level. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to see this thing go, you know, obviously nationwide it's going crazy right now. You look at Oklahoma, New York, Michigan, Chicago. These guys are North Carolina. These guys are getting involved. I mean, and what's happening is too, we're putting directors in those markets. So under my umbrella, I'm going around the nation, finding guys that are actively involved in the community, that they can start selecting guys and they can actually add this Nike Youth Coach of the Year logo on their websites and take nominations.
You mentioned North Carolina. South Carolina, well, the Carolinas right now is a hotbed.
Oh,
I mean,
goodness,
youth football has just exploded in the Carolinas.
Oh, God, it is. You know, we got a guy there now in North Carolina, Gerald Nathan, which is actively involved in the community. He actually utilizes our certification program, but we've actually given him a title of director in North Carolina. So he'll be ushering youth coaches to obviously get involved and get themselves educated so they can, again, be better coaches. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, recognizing coaches, building better coaches to build better student athletes.
Clarence Nevels, my guest this week on the Sports Zone, talking youth football and the Nike Youth Coach of the Year award coming up later in the calendar season. A break here and back with more right after this.
Too busy to stick to network schedules? Watch Primetime on demand free from Time Warner Digital Cable. So go ahead, watch Saturday Night Live on Wednesday afternoon. Catch 2.5 Men 2.5 days after it airs.
Ouchie!
Switch shows around to fit your schedule without setting your DVR.
Just follow my lead, huh? Are you ready?
Because with Primetime on demand, you can make any time prime time. That's the power of you.
Whole House DVR from Time Warner Cable. Record it here, watch it in 4 different rooms. We're moving technology forward to bring you back to your own space.
And welcome back to the Sports Zone for Time Warner Cable Sports, talking youth football across the state, and in particular, the Nike Youth Coach of the Year award to be presented later in the calendar season. Les Miles will be one of the presenters from LSU. Clarence Nevels, my guest. Youth football coaching, Clarence, and you know as well as anybody that maybe the hardest thing to do for a youth coach is when you don't have the numbers. And maybe your talent level is not that above against the teams you're competing. Maybe the talent level is a little below, and that's hard to do for a full season.
It is, and I think a lot of times what winds up happening, Coach, is this. I called you Coach. But
that's okay.
What winds up happening is that these coaches are stepping out of the shadows and saying, man, I don't have the talent, I don't have the speed, but a system. You know, I mean, any college coach that tells you, I mean, these guys recruit the best of the best. They try to find the best guys to suit their system, right? But at the end of the day, it comes down to a system. You look at Bill Belichick. I mean, this guy, from what they say, can put a system in that can work with almost any type of athlete. I mean, you got to have athletes, but at the end of the day, it's if you're a better coach, if you put a great system in, and there's coaches all over the country, even coaches that attend our tournaments at the end of the season and those types of things, those coaches come there with a system. And it's amazing to see these coaches actually put their programs together and watch these kids actually perform. And it's all it does, again, is give a kid that may have been trashed to another guy an opportunity.
Right.
You know, I mean, this guy say, man, I don't want that kid. I had a tryout, and I wouldn't pick that kid up. You turn around and you see that kid on a winning team because he works great in a system. And that's what's going to happen when he gets to high school anyway. He's going to have to work in a system.
I think the kids are just as hungry as the coaches. So
That's right.
They want to learn something other than just running over right guard 8 times a game, you know.
That's right. That's right. You know, I mean, with the emergence of, I mean, now call it an emergency, but look at the spread offense. You look at, you know, teams now reverting back to running the ball again and I formations and things of that nature. You look at all the winning programs from last year's playoffs, you know, and championship games. A lot of those teams ran the ball. But again, when you run the ball, it's not just line up, dive left, dive right. I mean, you got to actually have a system, and you need a playbook, you know, bigger than 2 plays, because the kids, again, don't learn anything. But that's what this thing is all about.
Who was on board with this early? Maybe some name recognizable coaches that thought this would be proper recognition for some of the youth coaches?
And as funny as it may sound, college coaches were the ones that actually stepped up and said, I mean, because, you know, I have a lot of connections, obviously, with TagTeamSportz. I travel the country putting on camps and clinics and things of that nature. But at college coaches, you know, like Les Miles, Art Browse, you know, and Gary Patterson, that said, this is a great thing, because what's happening is these same kids are going to be going off to their program. So they said, Clarence, I'll support it 100%. So Randy Pippen and also Rusty DiNicola, another good guy that's involved in this thing, those guys were basically saying, hey, we got the support of college coaches, and if we got the support of the college coaches, there's nothing can hold this thing back, because those guys are the guys that everybody looks up to. I mean, we watch these guys on Saturday, you know, week in and week out, right?
Yeah, it's Urban Meyer. Maybe for the Midwest, it's somebody else in the South. You know, maybe Mac Brown.
Nick Saban?
Maybe out west, yeah, or Nick Saban. Then out west,
That's
you
right.
have the coaches. The ballot is very easy to complete. It may take no more than 15 minutes. And talk about the ballot.
And the ballot is very simple, and that's what we wanted to do, obviously, to take nominations, because again, you know, people, when they're filling out ballots and things of that nature, the guys don't want to, you know, spend a lot of time on a website. It's very simple. It's basically your name. Once you get your name, we want to know where you came from, what organization, what team that you're from, and then we want to collect some data as far as your thoughts on why are you selecting this coach. Because again, we don't want guys just to hop on the website and just nominate. We want to know why are you nominating this guy, because again, when these guys step on that podium and they have a Les Miles handing them an award, we want them to be recognized, and we want to know why. We want to know, why do people say that you're such a good coach? Was it just, it's not just X and O's, it's not just wins and losses, because if you look across the board and you look at what it takes to be selected as a Nike Youth Coach of the Year, it takes a little more than that. We want guys that are actively involved in the community. We want guys that are mentoring kids. That doesn't mean you got to pick 1 million kids up a day, you know, just to be selected. But we want you actively involved and teaching the kids more than just X and O's, how to be a good human being. That's what it's all about, right?
Percentage-wise, who has the most say-so in the process?
Well, the voters, and that's what we love about this whole program. Nike Youth Coach of the Year or the Nike Coach of the Year doesn't want to dictate who actually gets this award. We want the public. We want your team. We want the team, the parents. We want the players. We want all those guys to come on. We want fellow coaches. I mean, there's coaches out there that look up to other coaches. I mean, there's some coaches out there that really, really, really know their deal and actually are great to their fellow coaches. And that's another thing, too. We want coaches that are, if you're nominated by other coaches around you, that means a lot, because that means amongst your peers, you have respect. And if you have respect, you're probably doing something right.
Do you find yourselves maybe attending a practice that maybe isn't as organized as you would like for it to be, and maybe some input that you have given them over the last couple of years?
Oh,
because
yeah.
there are teams that aren't sanctioned as well as they probably could be.
Oh, you're exactly right. And this is part of this process as well. I mean, there's guys out there, I mean, because when they attend a clinic, we want these guys to be educated. When you walk away from a clinic, like Youth Football Coaches Association is involved in this thing as well. And the Youth Football Coaches Association is one of those programs that they want to teach you about, you know, systems and you know, why they play, why they quit. I mean, guys should know these types of things. I mean, they should know, why is this kid walking off the field on me? You know, why does this kid not want to play? They should know hydration. You know, they should know how often should I water a kid. They should know, you know, obviously what happens if a kid breaks a leg or whatever the case may be. What are my emergency, obviously standards or whatever. So that kind of stuff is important. But to be honest with you, if you walked on a practice field and you asked, not all coaches, but some coaches, what are you going to do if a kid passes out because he doesn't have enough water? Call 911. But what do you do right now? Those types of things are important because you could save a life. And if you look at the news and the media on a regular basis now, things are happening in the sports community to athletes while they're on the field. But who's prepared for that? So again, Nike Coach of the Year, obviously you go to those types of events and you're going to get taught, you know, great systems, you know, practice management, those types of things.
Would a clinic that's run in Corpus be the same as one in North San Antonio? Or in El Paso, would everything be kind of a carbon copy?
Carbon copy. These guys are very good at what they do. I mean, obviously being around 40, 50 years, you know, and I just celebrated 40th birthday, so I can tell you this, but at being around 40 years, you're doing something right. I mean, there's clinics that come and go. I mean, you got guys that are doing clinics all over, but you don't get any bigger than Nike. I don't know anything bigger. You don't get any bigger than that. So in essence, these guys know what they're doing. They're obviously very good at, I mean, you're going to have different vendors that will attend, you know, different sponsors, but at the end of the day, the meat and potatoes of this thing is obviously going to be the same.
Yeah, their resources and their stockpile is pretty deep.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right.
There's a national championship game that will take place for the second consecutive year at Cowboys Stadium in Arlington. Clarence, we've got about 30 seconds before we go to break. How many teams do you anticipate this year?
100. That's the number this year. 100 teams this year. We're going to make sure that all the games are done by 8 o'clock, but excited. 100 teams this year.
Okay, that whets the appetite. We'll talk more about that as the Sports Zone continues after this final break.
You are here, and so am I. Maybe millions of people go by.
3D TV from Time Warner Cable. Fall in love again. We're moving technology forward to bring you back to the magic.
There's a lot of people out there. I don't know if I can do this.
Can't do this? You didn't say can't when you finished the triathlon.
No.
You didn't say can't when you saved those whales.
No.
And you didn't say can't when they made you CFO.
I can do this.
Now go out and crush them, baby.
Connect from anywhere with 4G mobile internet. At Time Warner Cable, we're moving technology forward.
I'm not supposed to be in here.
To bring you back to your support system.
At Time Warner Cable, we're trying to make your life easier. One of the ways we're doing it is with free online bill pay. It saves you time, stamps, and lets you be a little greener. Just go to My Services at TimeWarnerCable.com and click on the online bill pay button. It takes a few seconds to set up, and it's absolutely safe and secure. It's a total win-win-win situation. My name is Sashi. I'm helping you be a little more green. I am Time Warner Cable.
We are 6,511 engineers 10,909 customer service reps, 1,276 dispatchers, 320,000 miles of cable, 1,104 programmers, working together with one purpose: to give ordinary people the power to do the things they want in easier, more extraordinary ways. Time Warner Cable, the power of you.
And welcome back to our final segment of the Sports Zone. On December 1st, the Nike Youth Coach of the Year winners will be announced. LSU coach Les Miles will recognize those at a banquet in February. Clarence Nevels, the president of TagTeamSportz, is my guest this week. Clarence, finally, if we could go back to the nomination process, the 80 percentile and the 20 percentile breakdown, how does that work?
Well, basically this. They were very adamant about, obviously, votes not being tainted, obviously, and coaches being recognized. So 80% of the fan vote is what counts for a guy to be nominated. So I think that's big. And also, I mean, so you got 10% will be with the media resources that are going to be taking on nominations, because we have other media partners that are going to be taking nominations on their websites, actually attracting them to go to the website that Nike Youth Coach of the Year. But those guys will have a vote as well, because those guys are going out and covering youth sports, all across the country. So we have 7 media partners, which are going to be great, and those are actually going to be listed on the website as of next week, Nike Youth Coach of the Year. So you'll see those media partners. So it'll be awesome.
The National Youth Football Championship will take place over the Thanksgiving holiday period at Cowboy Stadium at Arlington. This is the second time that these championships will take place. The huge trophy that was awarded last year is on display here. You anticipate 100 teams. What was the response like last year, and will some of those same teams return?
Oh, a lot of those teams will return. We had 66 teams last year, exact number, 66. Guys came from all over 15,000 people attended the event, which is unheard of for a youth football event, and then obviously being the first national championship in the Cowboy Stadium, I mean, that's history. I mean, nobody can ever go back, and those kids have got an opportunity to play on that field. And I mean, as we announced during the game and during their award presentation, nobody can ever take that away from those kids. And you should have seen the smiles on their faces, the cameras that were snapping. It went all over, the social networks that were out there. So it's awesome. So yeah, 100 teams is what we're looking at this year.
And underneath the table, Clarence will retrieve these hot tickets that will be available, and there they are. This is smoking hot, isn't it?
Oh, smoking hot. There's over 20,000 tickets, and we'll probably sell roughly about 30,000 this year for the Cowboy Stadium, because we will have all the award ceremonies. This is one of the things that this event is about. It's an event. It's not just a game. There's tournaments that are out there, and obviously we support other tournaments because obviously what we do, but there's no tournaments out there that for Thanksgiving that you're going to be able to play your games and be awarded your award at the Cowboy Stadium by legends of the NFL. So we do have some guys that are coming back to actually present the awards, and we're finalizing that list as we speak. So yeah, these tickets are hot because every kid will have an opportunity, every family will have an opportunity to come to the Cowboy Stadium. It's not expensive because all they're charging is the $15 that it costs to do the tour. So in essence, you're going to get your award, you're going to get a tour, you're going to get to watch great football. I mean, it's second to none.
What's the exact date?
November 23rd and 24th, that's the gridiron games. That's the battle to get to the 25th, which the game is on. I mean, typically the NFL is played on Sunday, but since it's Thanksgiving, the Cowboys always play on Thursday, so it's awarded TagTeamSportz an opportunity to have their game on Sunday. So these kids get an NFL experience, right? An NFL experience on an NFL game day, Sunday, Cowboy Stadium, and this time we're not even splitting the days up for the tour. So this time we're going to go from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening. We've blocked out the entire day at the Cowboy Stadium. So, and then during the middle of the day, we're going to do our awards presentation for all the teams that participated, and all they have to do is obviously get a ticket and come out and participate.
Who won it last year? Who was the most surprised team?
Oh, and this is going to be really funny because there was a group that actually dominated throughout the tournament. 66 teams came. There's no bias. You know, I mean, I can't make a kid throw an interception. We can't make a kid fumble. But these teams actually won their division. The Rockwall Yellow Jackets actually did a great job this past season. I mean, I think out of there's 6 levels, and they took 5. So great program, obviously. But there were some other great programs that were there as well. You had I think it was Hallmark. Hallmark came out, and then you had the San Antonio team that actually came from San Antonio, which we were very excited to see a San Antonio team come and make it to the championship game. There was, there was another team, Gulf Coast Panthers came out, which was awesome team out of the Gulf Coast, which is a great team. So we had a lot of South Texas representation, you know, along with the out-of-state stuff. I mean, they came from Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi. I mean, they came from all over. This year, I mean, we're even adding the international spin to it. This year, you have Mexico coming. This is going to be very exciting. You have Mexico and Canada. So these teams, I mean, some of these kids, I mean, you and I, when we grew up, we didn't get a chance to play against a Canadian group. We didn't get a chance to play from teams from Mexico. But now, with an event like this, you're going to bring out everybody because everybody wants good, wholesome competition. But Jerry Jones made a place for us all to go at the end of the season.
What did you hear, Clarence, from the coaches and the parents from out of state?
Oh, God, they loved it. You know, well, I think the biggest thing that you probably heard was they didn't realize the Texas competition. You know, a lot of guys came, you know, and as a tournament host, you kind of feel bad because guys really don't, I mean, Texas, they hear about Texas football.
Right.
But it's one thing to hear about Texas football. It's another thing to participate and play against a Texas team. So I'm not saying there's not great football in other states, Oklahoma and all those types of places. There's great football all over the country, California, Florida. But a lot of those teams, until they really get an opportunity to compete against Texas teams, they don't know what they're up against. So the big thing that we heard about out of state was, Jesus, we know now that we got to come back with some heavy hitters to come down and play these Texas teams.
I would think that just the tour alone would have done it, much less stepping on the turf.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got kids. I mean, with our event, you actually get an opportunity to change in the locker room. Now, and tell me, this has to be a great experience. I mean, you're playing on Sunday, which is a NFL day, right? You're getting an opportunity from a cheerleader standpoint to a player standpoint. You're going to be able to change in the locker room just like the Dallas Cowboys do. Your cheerleaders are going to change in the cheerleader locker room just like the cheerleaders for the Dallas Cowboys do. I mean, then you're going to be able to walk out and you're going to be on the middle of the field looking up that great screen and say, I made it. And you ought to see the eyes of these kids when they're standing on that field. I mean, we had one kid that just wanted to kick a field goal. That's all he wanted to do. He said, can I please line up and kick a field goal? And he did it. So,
or maybe from a visitor standpoint, you get the visiting locker room where Eli Manning just beat the Cowboys. Okay, you get to dress in his locker.
That's right. That's right. And New York is actually, we have teams from New York that's actually coming down for the event. Michigan, as far as Michigan and New York, I mean, it's second to none. And this is one of the things that TagTeamSportz is so excited to bring to you guys today and to the world, is an opportunity to come to the greatest stadium in the country, you know, and for the second time, and we'll be doing this for years to come.
Okay, finally, Clarence, the Youth Coach of the Year award, easiest way to nominate?
Yes, Nike Youth Coach of the Year. You can't miss that. I mean, it's Nike, it's the youth, and it's the Coach of the Year award. You can't meet it. You go NikeYouthCoachOfTheYear.com. Once you click on it, it's going to take you to the nomination ballot. And once you get to that nomination ballot, it's easy to fill out. It's your name, it's your email address, your comments. We want to know where you're from so that we can recognize you as the guy that actually, you know, stepped out and recognized the coach.
Yeah, there's literally something for everyone.
That's right. That's right.
Clarence, appreciate the visit as always.
Thank you very much. And I want to give you something, John, before we go. John Nelson. Here's your Nike Youth Coach of the Year, and I nominated my coach.
The nomination process has already started. If nominated, I'll run. If elected, I'll serve. Is that how? Clarence, appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
That's our show for this week. As always, stay tuned for more great programming right here on Time Warner Cable Sports. So next time, this is John Nelson saying so long, everyone.